In Pixar's latest animated feature, we follow 13-year-old Meilin Lee as she deals with growing up and certain changes that aren't exactly typical of teenage puberty, such as turning into a giant red panda whenever she gets overly emotional or stressed out. Like many of Pixar's other films, Turning Red is filled with lovable and relatable characters. But in terms of morality, which ones are truly the most pure and good, and which ones still have some maturing to do? Welcome to Wicked Binge. This is Pixar's Turning Red characters, good to most good. Much like the previously released Disney film Encanto, Turning Red doesn't really have a traditional villain, nor does it have any characters who could really qualify as evil. As such, everyone falls somewhere on the good spectrum. So today we'll be starting with the least good, and working our way up to the most good and heroic characters. Also, in case it wasn't obvious, spoilers ahead. At the very bottom of our list, we have the bully turned friend, Tyler. Tyler is introduced as your typical schoolyard bully, and even though he is a bully, he's still not the worst in Pixar's lineup. Certainly not as bad as someone like Urkel from Luka, or even Sid from Toy Story. Still, he's definitely a jerk. Tyler is frequently seen making fun of May throughout the first half of the film, oftentimes verbally teasing her. When May becomes popular, Tyler asks her to come to his party in her panda form and blackmails her when she refuses, threatening to tell her mother. Even after May complies and makes his party fun, the two have another fight, leading May to attack him. However, in a surprise turn of events, Tyler turns out to be a fan of Four Town and, despite all he did, becomes a member of the Friend Squad. It's a nice twist, but given that Tyler never apologized on screen for all the trouble that he caused, his shift from bully to friend feels a bit hollow. And for this, we had to put him as our least good character. But he is still just a kid, and we can't hold it against him too much. Next, we move on to May's Aunties. Much like another set of characters who we'll get to in a moment, these four ladies tend to act as a sort of collective and have very similar personalities. They're friendly enough, but can be more than a little overbearing. One of them even looks down on May slightly, suggesting that May has gained weight and looks like her father. The Aunties also follow the lead of May's grandmother, in that they aren't quite willing to let Ming forget about how destructive her panda side was.
And if May's panda is anything like Ming's? Ooh.
Still, much like Tyler, the Aunties are partially redeemed in the end, when they let their own pandas out in order to help Ming and May. We certainly can't call them bad characters, but since they don't get much development, as individuals or as a group, we had to rank them here. Sticking with the Lee family, next up is Wu, May's grandmother. On the surface, May's grandmother may seem like your typical stern matriarch. She has shades of other stern grandmother characters in her, such as Abuelita from Coco or Alma from Encanto. But unlike those characters, it's even more rare for Wu to let down her mask and show emotion. When it comes to her relationship with her daughter, it's complicated. We see Wu subtly imply that Ming isn't able to handle this change in May, and seems to partially look down on Ming for her perceived failings as both a daughter and a mother. As for Wu's relationship with her granddaughter, she is a bit warmer towards May and tries to warn her about the panda's darker side, not wanting to see May and Ming's relationship be as fractured as her and Ming's relationship is.
May Sun Yi guide you and keep you safe.
In the climax of the film, however, it's Wu that leads the charge in helping Ming, even if it means releasing her own panda. We also see that Wu ultimately forgives Ming for hurting her as a teenager. And while Wu doesn't exactly apologize for her own actions, it's still a nice scene that implies their relationship may have a chance of healing. We finally come to one of the major characters in the film, May's mother, Ming. Ming is an incredibly loving and incredibly overprotective mom who tends to expect perfection from her daughter. Though we doubt that Ming is purposely trying to hurt her daughter with this demand for perfection, this combined with her tendency to be so overbearing can paint her in a bit of a negative light. Along with being stern, Ming also dismisses May's interests, like her love of boy bands, and frequently badmouths Miriam, one of May's best friends.
I mean, she's a nice girl, but maybe she's slowing you down.
She also didn't prepare May for the panda curse, although we'll cut her some slack for this one, as parents often make this mistake, and it's usually out of being naive rather than malicious. Without a doubt, one of Ming's worst scenes is when she confronts Mei's secret crush, Devin, accusing him of essentially corrupting her, while at the same time showing Mei's embarrassing drawings to the entire convenience store. We also can't forget how Ming lets her anger towards Mei's rebellion get the better of her, leading to her attacking and nearly destroying the arena where Town is performing. But despite this bombastic climax, we can't call Ming a monster. Despite all her faults, Ming still cares a ton about her daughter, and only does what she does because she's afraid of their relationship breaking up. In the end, Ming is willing to make a change and give Mei more freedom to be herself, and that shows a lot of growth. Next up is the first of Mei's friends, Abby. Abby seems to be the spunkiest one out of the friend group. She can be incredibly overzealous and can be more than a little over the top due to this.
Let's burn this place to the ground!
Abby's also the one who seems to love Mei's fluffy panda form the most, even encouraging her to transform so that she can hug her. We also see a bit of Abby's more selfless side later on when, after it looks like the girls won't have enough money for concert tickets, she's willing to give up her chance to see Town, and is even the first to volunteer to give up her ticket. While her occasional tendency for violence may be a bit concerning, it's hardly enough to overshadow all of Abby's good traits. Following is another one of Mei's friends, Priya. While Abby may be over the top and excitable, Priya is much more low-key and deadpanned. She's the quiet one in the group, and rarely shows her emotions. But who says that's a bad thing? While it would have been easy to make Priya seem uncaring and bored all the time, she's just as enthusiastic about her friends and their shared interests as they are. She also quickly accepts Mei's panda side, even complimenting Mei's tail. Additionally, just like Abby, Priya also volunteers to be the one not going to the concert when it looks like they won't have the money.
You can't not go! Jesse's your soulmate.
It just goes to show that you can't judge a book by its cover, or a teenager by her deadpan expression. Up next is the local shaman, Mr. Gao. Looking like an ordinary elderly neighbor on the surface, Mr. Gao serves a fairly big purpose in the film, even if he doesn't get a whole lot of screen time.
Just follow my directions and breathe.
Being a shaman, he's the one who leads the panda banishment ritual and is incredibly skilled at it as well. Because of this, he's shown to be a great family friend to the Lee family. He's friendly to Mei and isn't at all frightened by the family's big and furry secret. In fact, he doesn't seem bothered by it at all. In a community, neighbors can be extremely important, and he manages to be both a great neighbor and a great shaman. Next up, we have Mei's father, Jin. With Mei and Ming taking the spotlight, it may be kind of easy to forget about Mei's dad, but for what it's worth, he's a really good father and husband. Sure, he may get pushed to the side at times, whether that's talking to her daughter about periods or deciding whether or not Mei can go see Town.
Right, Jin? See, your father agrees. No concert.
In these moments, he may come off as a bit passive in his role within the story. Still, we have to give him kudos for being the one to see the positive side of the family's panda curse. After seeing Mei's video, he lets her know that he supports the more panda-ish side of her and doesn't see her silly or more emotional traits as a bad thing. Out of both her parents, he's the first one to encourage her to be herself and doesn't expect the same level of perfection that Ming does. He also isn't afraid of his wife's panda side and is very respectful and loving towards her. We finally come to the main girl herself, Mei. Mei is a confident 13-year-old girl, and while her panda side does turn her life upside down for a bit, Mei's true personality still shines through. She's shown to be determined, energetic, and caring towards those she loves. When it comes to her family, Mei not only cares about her mother's approval, but also just wants to honor her family as much as possible, since the love she has for both them and her friends is genuine. It would have been easy to paint Mei as a rebellious teen who suddenly hates her mom, but it never gets to that point. Though she wants to have fun with her friends and is willing to sneak around, you never get the feeling that she's trying to hurt her mother or that their loving relationship is one-sided. This is seen when she ultimately tries to help and comfort her mom, even after the two have a huge fight. As for Mei's more negative traits, she does have some anger issues and can be seen sometimes lashing out when she's angered, especially when in her panda form. This led to her attacking Tyler and hurting her mom, though she instantly regretted both of these instances. Along with the previously mentioned sneaking around, Mei also threw her friends under the bus when she had to make a choice between defending them and possibly losing her mom's approval. Again, Mei regretted this and apologized, so we really can't take too many points away from her.
The panda's a part of me, and you guys are too.
Simply put, Mei is far from perfect. But that's okay. There's still a lot to like and admire about her, making Mei not only a great main character, but also a person with a good moral compass, give or take a couple lapses in judgment. For these reasons, she nearly makes it into our top 3. Earning the Bronze Medal of Good is Mei's final friend, Miriam. Out of all of Mei's friends, Miriam seems to take up the roles of both the leader of the group and Mei's best friend. Whenever Mei is stressing out or upset about something, Miriam is the first to reach out and try to comfort her as she offers support.
What's with her?
What's with your face?
What is with you?
Miriam is also the one who encourages Mei to be herself the most, telling her how great her panda side is and telling Mei that she deserves to do her own thing, instead of always needing to do what her mom wants. Even after the two have a brief falling out, due to Mei not defending her when Ming verbally attacked her, Miriam still takes it upon herself to feed and take care of Mei's Tamagotchi pet, so it doesn't die. Even while mad at Mei, Miriam still tried to be a good friend and even forgives Mei once she genuinely apologizes. While all of Mei's friends are pretty great, it's kind of obvious who her best friend is, and we felt that Miriam more than deserved the Bronze Medal of Good. For our Silver Medal of Good, we're actually going to give it to not 1, but 5 characters, the boy band 4town. Now, it may be a bit strange to give such a high ranking to a boy band of all things, but here's our argument. No, they aren't the most developed characters in the film. They're really just a knockoff of NSYNC or the Backstreet Boys. But for what it's worth, these guys do seem to genuinely care about their fans. This is ultimately shown in the film's climax when they use their singing to help power up the panda ritual, since the ritual only works if the people surrounding the circle are singing from the heart. It's safe to say that they're not just singing for the paycheck. We also have to commend them for even participating in the ritual in the first place, given that they had no idea who Mei or her family were, and their concert was attacked by a Godzilla-sized red panda. We would not have blamed them for refusing to help and just running away. And for that, they definitely deserve the Silver Medal of Good. Finally, our Gold Medal of Good has to go to Mei's ancestor, Sun Yi. Though she's another very minor character, we just couldn't ignore the actions she took while she was alive. As the legend goes, during times of war when her home was left defenseless, Sun Yi wished for the power to become a giant red panda in the hopes of protecting her daughters. Her wish came true, and Sun Yi was able to use both this new form and her own strong emotions of righteous fury and love to protect her family. While she may have been the one to pass along this so-called curse, we can't forget that Sun Yi originally meant it as a blessing, not wanting to see any of her future family members defenseless. Moving ahead to the end of the film, Sun Yi gives her approval to Mei's choice of keeping her panda side in what is a really nice moment. Given that she's essentially the hero of her family, we couldn't think of anyone else more deserving of the title of Most Good Turning Red Character. With our morality spectrum wrapped up, let's award some sinner medals. We're gonna give the Pride Medal to Mei, because she's a very overly confident 13-year-old. And she also earns the Lust Medal, if only for how her hormones literally trigger her panda form. The Sloth Medal has to go to her dad, only because he isn't exactly able to keep up with his wife in any regard, and he pretty much just defers to her. And finally, Ming gets the Wrath Medal, strictly due to her turning into a giant Godzilla-sized panda at the end of the movie. But let us know in the comment section if you agree with our ranking. And make sure to check out our video, where we find every single Easter egg in Turning Red. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite cartoons, shows, and movies. But most importantly, stay wicked.